All right, Rich Alverson here. This is ITS387P, and today is January 27th, Wednesday, and let me share my screen. Let's see, click here and click here. All right, and if we look at our syllabus, we are, what was I doing? Yeah, this is pretty good that I remembered that this is what I was doing, but what did I, oh, anyway, let me finish and publish this. Let's look at it. And we are in week, this is the 27th, so we're in week 3. All right, so we should be challenge activities, lab activities 3. Oh, that's right. Okay, wrong class. Yeah, okay, so I guess we're going to start chapter 3 this week, today. Let's start chapter 3. I didn't get through too many of these challenge activities, but I tell you what, if anybody wants me to go over the a challenge activity, just let me know. Okay, just email me and I'll do it in class. But let's get started with chapter 3 and let's see what's there. All right, so let's see, that's this. Oops, this. Let's take a look at where we left off with chapter 2 for a moment here. We did basic HTML tags. I went and looked at I scanned the first video. I went back and I made the first video a week ago, and that's what I was going to put here. I was going to put the location of the first video, but it is right here. It's right here. Okay. So you go to resources, you click on class videos, and this was the first video. And if you recall, I covered the syllabus. I talked a little bit about the assignments, and I went through chapter 1, which is basic web server type stuff, and then I did lab 2.10. So I did not scan through chapter 2 at all, but I asked the class sometime in the middle of the class how much of this you've seen already, and all of you said that you had most of it in 227 because you took 227 from Steve Singer. And so let's just take 10 minutes and look through that just to recall what this section is. So when we start chapter 3, and maybe next week I'll have 2 class periods to catch up, because I do like going over, at least starting you on all of the labs. All right, so it talks about HTML and what HTML stands, what it is, and understanding the HTML acronym, and it's all about putting these markup tags. It's a language of markup tags, and hypertext is allowing you to click on a link and you go to another document. And so it talks about the different tags here, the basic tags to make an HTML document, and this is all stuff that you've probably seen and done lots before. Let's see what's next. The basic HTML tags, the paragraph tag. Let's see, how far do we go here? Paragraph tag, line break tag. Where's white space? So it doesn't talk about that. Okay. Line break. Yes. Headers. Okay, section. Now that is a tag that I'm not, I don't use the section tag, okay? So when we see it, it's a collection of related paragraphs in a tabbed container. See, what I don't understand about this is this is how it would look without the section tags. So I'm wondering if section tags are just you know, for organization. But anyway, that would be good. That would be a good experiment to try. Let's see. All right, so when we render the web page, it looks like this: Bill of Rights. Okay, so they want us to add H1 tags here. Oops, H1, and add H2 here. And render. Okay, that looks nice. Oh, I didn't do it here, did I? Oh. Oh, wait a second. Okay, that's how it should look. Oh, I know what it did. It made, when you put a section around it, it made it smaller. It made it a smaller one notch. You see, this is H1 and this is H1, but this has got section around it. So if I were to remove section by making it an error, how's that? I made it an error. And look, it's the same size. Okay, let's unerror it. Anyway, cool. I didn't, okay, great. So, okay, this is probably invalid because I don't think that's a real tag. All right, so anyway, text formatting. Okay, so strong, you can use strong or B. You can use M for or I for italics, and there's different. It's different in some way. I think it's different in that you can, you know, identify these differently than B tags, and or they interpret into something differently when there's an HTML reader for assisting, you know, comprehending the document. So probably something that converts for hard of hearing, I don't know, but a B tag would be different than a strong tag. I'm just guessing. I better not guess too much. This class is being recorded. All right, so so anyway, these are basic tags for text formatting. Gee, there's a lot of them I didn't even know about. And I write HTML code every day. I write it every day. So, but I started back in the 90s. Okay, anyway, so this is how to put comments in. You, what are we supposed to do? Try modifying the HTML to use a comment so that the second paragraph is not displayed. Well, I don't know. I would just make it a comment. That's the start of a comment. And this is the end of the comment that you started above it. And that should make, okay, anyway, so. This would be a comment. Okay, this comment starts here and would end here. It says it's invalid, but really, yeah, okay, this comment, the way this would be interpreted is the comment would start here, and then the only thing that it's looking for is an end comment. And this is not an end comment, so it ignores it. And this ends the comment, and then this is going to start printing, and this is going to be ignored because it's not looking an end comment doesn't make any sense. And so I'll tell you what, let's verify this. How can we verify this? I'm going to grab this, copy, and I think right now I'm going to. Is there someplace I can render this? Okay, I'll tell you what, I'm going to render it here. I'm going to put this here. See what it does. See if it's right. Okay, yes. So the comments started right after R. Oh, okay, so this actually was a comment, so that's gone. You see, roses are purple, red is gone. Violets are, and then yeah, see, so this is the start of the comment. This is the end of the comment, and that's it. And so that's why we see this here. This end comment mark here. So anyway, what's next? Lists. This is LI, UL, LI. You can make unordered lists and ordered. Okay, it's a list, and so this is the starting. Okay, so LI means list element, if you want to think of it that way, or list item. That's probably what it stands for. LI, list item. And so if you want to make a list item of a list, you enclose it in LI tags, and all of these list items, they are enclosed in the HTML codes here that identify a list. And UL means unordered list. OL would be ordered list. You can do OL, and then by ordered list, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, numbers. And then you can also change the thing that increments. So we're supposed to make peanut butter and jelly, and it's an unordered list. Okay, that's unordered. And then ordered lists. Now, you can add a type attribute, and that would be inside the right here. Okay, so say I can add that. This is an order. Okay, let me go back up here. Okay, so so in other words, you can make the things different, the things that are when you're ordering them. And for unordered lists, you can change it from a dot to a square, do other things. You see, fancy. So let's see. This looks like that. And let's see. So I can go type equals capital I. Ah, okay, very nice. Very good. Okay, what's next? Participation, nested. Of course, you can have nested lists. Here you have an ordered list, a single ordered list, but inside that ordered list, you have this list element is actually an ordered list. You see, so so this whole thing is the list item. And so this whole thing is enclosed in the list items tags. And and then, you can just have a string of text in there, in which case it's just an item in a list, or you can have something else in there, and that something else can be another ordered list or unordered list. So that's what this is. And so you can see this looks like, where's the LI? Oh yeah, okay. So this is the outside ordered list, and this is the inside ordered list. And so, you can make it so, okay, yeah, so that would make sense. Yeah, it wouldn't make sense to make it an unordered list because there is an actual order to it. So, you want to have that order there. And, numbering is the most reasonable way. All right, so good. Okay, so here's lists. So we're done with lists. Tables are important. Yeah, we have to do this new thing this semester. This is the first semester we've had to do this, where we've had to, there's this, and by the way, it's this way at Manoa too. We have to go in and look at students the first 2 weeks of class and figure out if they're going to be a no-show. Okay, so so a no-show, they define it, and so a no-show to me is they haven't done anything. Okay, meaning they haven't even filled out the schedule thing. The schedule thing that I asked you to fill out. Okay, they haven't done that. They haven't even purchased the textbook. And in some classes, there's some La Lima stuff, or there's a forum or whatever. And so for me, if they haven't done anything, they get that. I have to go in and check off and disenroll. And then there's a process for re-enrolling. And so there's a form for disenrolling and there's a form for re-enrolling. Well, all students have to do is email me back and say, hey, wait, no, I'm going to buy the textbook, or, okay, I'm just having trouble getting, yeah, sure, okay. And I fill out the form and they're re-enrolled. But I do think it's probably a good idea, because what about all those students that don't email me back? There is this problem where when you grade like I do and you don't really enforce deadlines very strongly, you can reach the end and actually have students in there that haven't done anything. And so then the administration asks, well, they haven't done anything. Well, didn't you know about this earlier? And I'll say, yeah, I kind of did. But anyway, I always feel bad when it's the very end and there's students that haven't done anything, and so I can't give them a good grade. I can't give them a grade, and so maybe this will actually identify those students, and at the end of the semester, I'll give everybody an A. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But anyway, so let's keep moving here. I just got an email from somebody that's wants to get back in. So anyway, okay, so tables are pretty important. It's pretty good to be able to just type out a table, to figure out rows and columns in your head, and just to be able to start typing the table, TR. I don't do the THs, but I just do TR, TD, TR, TD, whatever, and you build up a table, and putting tables inside tables and so on, and indenting to keep it straight. One thing I don't like about TH is that it automatically centers. See, so this guy's using TH tags here. So that's why these are centered. It doesn't make sense to center that. I mean, you can just bold it. But anyway, what's the caption? That's the caption. Interesting. Where's the starting caption tag? All right, so that's tables. Make sure you know how to do that. Use tables, and these are the call span. If you want a no, this is wrong. It would be okay. Which table creates the alpha cell table? Okay, this is a table, and so it's the TD tag. You want the TD tag, which is one cell, to span two columns. You want the TD. So this row is only in this particular table. The first row has one TD, the second row has two TDs, and the third row only has one TD. And the reason is because for the first row, the first TD has a call span of 2. In the second row, the second TD has a row span of 2, so it covers 2 rows. And then the third one here is just left by itself because there's only room for one cell, because this gamma is taking up two rows. So let's see if we get this right. What creates the alpha cell? It's this one. And what creates the second row? It would be this one. We got the beta there, and then we have the row span of 2 for gamma. And then what creates the third row? And that would be just this. Anyway, so that's pretty important to know that stuff. It's nice to know it off the top of your head, because then it's just, well, you can always just find code. For me, for HTML, I can just write it. I don't have to find code that's already written that's close, and then modify that. But for lots of things, I have to do that. For lots of programming things, if I'm returning to a language, like if I were to go back and start having to write some C# code, I'd have to have a library of C# programs already written to be able to go and start with, because the syntax is so much different than Python. All right, so images are important. Let's see, what time is it? Okay, so at 11 o'clock, I'm gonna switch over to chapter 3. That's my plan here. You have an image tag, and then the image just appears, in line, and then you can always put a style tag in there to size it and put some, so the image doesn't run right up against the text, and that kind of stuff inside. Well, okay, in the old days, you can still do this. This is what I did for 20 years. Since let's see, when did I start HTML? No, maybe maybe between 10 and 20 years. That's how I sized my image tags, but I don't anymore. I use a style. I still use width and height, but I put it inside a style tag because you can put other stuff in there too. So anyway, and by the way, the source can either be a file, in the same directory as the HTML document, or it can be a file someplace, in the same host machine, or it can be a file, just some file on the internet. And so here, for example, this is, this tag will work anywhere. No matter where it is, it'll work because the address of the image is an HTTP address. So it's an internet address. So I wish I had another, let me pull up ITS387P.com. What is there? Oh, I was going to do that there. Okay, let me go to cPanel. getting pretty late. Oops. That's something else I was doing. And I'm going to go into File Manager. And I'm going to go into my public HTML, and I'm going to make a folder called test. And inside test, I'm going to make a, okay, see what that looks like now. Oops. ITS3, okay, /test. And it's nothing, just that. So let me go in here, and I'm going to make another file called test.html. And I'm going to go inside test.html. Does that really work? I'm just going to do a regular editor. Oops. So here I'm inside test.html, hello world. And I can save this. And if we go back here now and I refresh this, there's test, and I click on it, and the hello world. Okay. So what I'm also going to do now is I wanted to put this there just to make a point. And this is dumb that I'm doing this, because I'm just making a point that you all know. Oops. Enter, enter. Paste, enter. See, I'm going to put a BR just so it doesn't. And now I can save this, and I go like this, and I refresh, and it goes, look, there's the cat. I used to have a cat that looked like that. All right. So that's that. It turns out that that if you have a JPEG file and you put a .png after it, it'll still work. This is just an indication that to use the graphics imager thing in that little square inside, you know, and it just has to be a well, anyway, that's how it used to be. They could be getting more strict. Someone I was having I mean, is it somebody here? We were talking about the code worked someplace, but it didn't work someplace else. You know, I started writing code in 95 or so, and back then, well, as always, you usually just code your HTML until it works, until it works. And the thing is HTML has always been very forgiving. So, like, if you would forget to put the ending quotes on, like an ending quote or something, it's fine. It would know what you mean. Like here, for example, if you would forget this ending quote, then it would know what you mean, and it wouldn't be a problem. And then after a while, then for some reason, it probably became okay to have this symbol inside of a quote, and so it was no longer okay if you left out this double quote, because if you left out the double quote, then it still thinks you're defining this href. And you can hit refresh, and there's a whole chunk of code that's missing, and that's because it started with this double quote, and it went all the way to the next double quote, which was someplace else. And so there are these tools online where you run your HTML through them, or you can just test them. You can go to a website and have the website do a screen scrape on your website to tell you if your HTML is good and valid and won't cause any problems in the future. And so that may be a good idea if you end up, creating a website that ends up, lasting a lot longer than you originally designed it for, which can happen every now and then. So anyway, so it's important. The syntax is important, and even if it appears to work on the browser, and it appears to work, but you're not getting all the points. Well, in this case, it's not really good enough to say, well, it works in the browser. Why can't this? Why can't I be done with it? It's not like a Microsoft Word document where if you're taking ICS 101 and you're supposed to be creating a Word document that looks exactly like this, but you run it through the My IT Lab grader thing, and it's not giving you 6 points because you didn't do something the way it expected you to do it. For something like that, then you can say, well, it looks like how you want it to, and then that should be that, because it's not like in the future somebody is gonna come out with a new version of Word and it's gonna break your document. But they're coming out with new browsers all the time, and we see that all the time where browsers where web pages break, and these days it's usually because of a security thing. So anyway, links, the A tag is useful because that's how you get to click to other websites. You can also use it to jump down in the same website, but you can also use it if you want your something to, when you roll over something, if the hypertag, see, let me like here I roll over this, and this is not a link, but I roll over it, and so I put an A tag. I do this with an A tag with no href, but it has a title. It has a title attribute, and that's what makes the thing that pops up there. See, so I use that a lot. Problem with this is it doesn't work on your phone. You can't hover your finger over it. They haven't gotten that good yet. So Apple has it where you can press lightly or press hard and it can tell the difference, but it doesn't have it yet where you can just come really close. Actually, pen computing is that way. When I use my pen, on my computer, it can tell when it's getting close. Anyway, I'm really getting off the track here. So that's what an A tag. So an A tag is very versatile, and so you should learn all the things you can do with an A tag. But mainly it's to link. Special characters. You have this ampersand followed by something followed by a semicolon, and that's usually a special character. And the most common ones I use, this is for copyright. I use that a lot. You can use that a lot, but it's the non-breaking space. This for a less than sign, and this is for an ampersand, and a greater than sign is GT, and the non-breaking space. So non-breaking. Well, I use this all the time. Non-breaking space. Sometimes you want two spaces. If you're somebody that's you want to have two spaces after your periods, in sentences, you gotta use one of those. All right. So let's go see what's in I think we've covered everything in chapter 2. So you can work on the labs. Let's see what's in chapter 3 now. It's 1106 HTML containers. Okay, this stuff all came after I became a good HTML programmer a container is part of a web document that has opening and closing tags, and you can create containers, and then you can use containers for formatting and by applying styles and adjusting margins and padding and so on. And so you define a style code, a style sheet, if you want to, for header, some code in your style, in a style sheet that defines the format for a header. And then every time you use a header, it's going to be formatted that way. And so, you know, they've come up with some common names for containers that you would have in a typical document: header, footer, a person's address, contact information, the main content of a document, and then there's sections, as we saw. I'm not quite sure, relating to website navigation. I think that might have to do with like making menus and so on, or just a tags, and then the style sheet takes care of the formatting of the buttons and so on. So anyway, div is very common, and span is very common. Now these days, if you want to italicize, or you want to put some different formatting in a section of in a few words of your paragraph, then you use a span. Span doesn't put any dividers or anything in it. You span and then the style, and then you style it some way. Also, all these things, you can name them. ID equals and then a name, and then with the ID attribute in any of these, you can refer to that particular tag in JavaScript, and you can mess around with the styles and mess around with all kinds of things. You can clear them and change the content of them and everything. So this is an example where you have this, you would use these things. Here's how the main, this is common. The main tag covers the whole thing, and an address block here ends up looking like that. And they're putting borders around it, colored borders around it, so you can see, where each thing is defined. So these are div blocks. All right, div element is a generic element for creating block containers, and you can name them and have different formats for different ones and so on. That's what goes on. These are the span is an inline element, which means it doesn't do any. It's see, this is not gonna cause this to start on the next line. Span, if it were divs, it would, but for spans, it doesn't. So we see, like, we are met on a great battlefield of that war is right here. Comes right after this. Okay. Here it's Chrome Dev Tools. Am I on Chrome? Well, this is going to be completely different. But if we just go to a regular website, let's go to this website. And more tools, developer tools. I'm not sure. Actually, I should fiddle around with this before I start trying to use it in class. Elements, maybe that's it. Where was it? Elements? Do you see elements? Elements. Ooh, elements. So there's my table. Ooh, oh, this is pretty cool. Crimson. That must be one of these colors here. Oh, look at that. All right, anyway, that's pretty cool. Okay, forms. Okay, so this is a web programming class, so you're going to have to know forms. You're going to have to be able to just write out forms, okay? So there's form tag, and then there's this action attribute, and inside the action attribute says where to send the data that this form collects. It's a web page. It's going to be a web page. Send this form is going to collect data using form input tags and checkboxes and text boxes and all that. And then there's going to be some way where it's usually a submit button. It's a submit tag. But anyway, so that causes the form to be submitted to the web page that's here. And then the web page is going to be like a PHP program or a Python program that is able to accept the form values that are coming in. They're identified by their names and they're coming in, and then the program over there on the server is going to take that form data and do something with it, and then it's going to create an HTML document. Your PHP program or Python program on the web server is going to create a PHP document, and then it's going to just output it, and the web server takes that output and sends it right back to the browser where the form values came from. So that's what's going on. So a form is very important, and you're going to use forms to test your APIs. Your APIs are, when they're in use or when they're being used normally, it's going to be a JavaScript, AJAX connection that sends data to your API using a get, a query string type of format, and then your API is gonna output a JSON object, but when you test your APIs, you may want to create a form, and then there's a method, and if you use method get, use a get method, then you're actually just like sending a web page. So sending for a web page. So when you click, if this is get, when you click on submit, and what's going to happen is this web page is going to appear, yeah, because that's where you're sending it. But you'll see a question mark and then the name value pairs that were in the form. That's if you use a get, and that's the same method that you use when you have an AJAX JavaScript in your program. Excuse me. That's communicating with an API that you're writing. So anyway, so you want to know how to make these are input tags, and these are labels are associated. These are labels associated with these input tags. It has to do with if you're going to have some formatting going on, which we'll, like Bootstrap or whatever, and this connects the label with the input tag. Anyway, so here it talks about this get method that I've been talking about, and you see how here it says what is the query string if the user submits bananas and 250? So bananas here and 250 here, it's going to say the query string is going to look like this one, the third one. The name, it's name value pairs. So it's going to be, this is the name, and then this is the value, and this is the name, and this is the value. So this is the name, and this is the value, and this is the name, and this is the value, and it's you know, connected using an ampersand. And what URL does the browser request if the user submits? Okay, so it's going to be this one. This is exactly what it looks like. And when you're writing your Ajax, your little Ajax code inside your script, a little script like 10 lines in your HTML document, and it goes and sends a request off to your API that you wrote that's on your server, and it sends back. You are actually creating this URL, this query. So you're actually creating it. You're starting with the name of the server, and you don't have to actually you don't have to put the name of the server, of course, if you're just going back to the same server. If you're not going back to the same server, it starts to get more complicated. I wonder if we'll talk about that. We might talk about that. But then this is the query string item bananas, and it's followed. There's a question mark there, and so this is the answer. And with post, you don't see the query string. With post, all you see is the URL, the main URL. The thing that I don't like about post is if you hit refresh, you know, if you're on the page, you know, you do a submit, and you're on the page that was submitted to, and then you hit refresh, it's going to resubmit the form. You know, that message comes up. Do you want to resubmit the data? And then, but for a query string URL, a get method, it doesn't do that. It just executes again. So actually, you know, I guess if that ends up being a problem, you should, you know, decide whether to use form method post or get. But I don't know how to. We don't normally use post. Oh yeah, no, we don't use post when we're doing Ajax and accessing APIs. All right. Oh, this is how you use this if you're gonna upload a picture. Upload a picture. Where's the type? File type. So you know, normally you're always sending text across, or you know, you might send you know, binary coded, no, not 64. There's lots of protocols where you can take an image, you know, which is a bunch of bits on a screen, and you convert that to something that you can transmit that can only accept ASCII characters, for example. And of course, the file size ends up being much bigger because it takes you know, multiple bytes to actually probably takes about like 1.5 bytes to represent each byte, or something like that, maybe 2 bytes. But you can also just send the bits directly, and to do that, you have to use this multi-part form data. And so the hard part is not in the browser. The hard part is coding at the server to accept. So this blob of data comes in, and you have to use you know, it's this big blob of data, but then there are these separators, these multi-part. There are these separators, and the first thing it does is it defines what the separator is. And it's usually some really long string of you know, characters, which only occurs for sure that's going to be a separator, and then that's the thing that separates these parts, and it's a lot more complicated. But if you want to have a form that accepts images, you got to do that. So there's things called checkboxes, and checkboxes are the thing about checkboxes is if they are checked, it sends something back to the server. But if they're not checked, it sends absolutely nothing back to the server. It doesn't. So here's the example. If item 1 is checked, it sends and the name of the checkbox. This is the label. This is the label, but the name of the checkbox is item 1. So here, item 1 is checked. So this is what gets sent back to the server. Item 2 is not checked. So item 2, it doesn't. It's not item 2 equals nothing or item 2 equals off. That doesn't. Item 2 doesn't. The word item 2 doesn't. The name doesn't even get sent back. So as a programmer, you have to know about that. You have to know that if the guy didn't check off the checkbox, you can't be looking for a false. Well, you can be, but you gotta take care of it in your server-side program. So anyway, that's the point here. Checkbox inputs. Radio buttons are a little bit different. With radio buttons, it's a bunch of radio buttons that have the same name, and so like here's 3 radio buttons, and they all have the same name. Now they can have different IDs. Okay, so they have to have different IDs if you're going to write JavaScript code and you want to be able to access them separately, pretty much. But they all have the same name, and so that defines their behavior. And what their behavior is only one can be checked at once. You can't have 2 of them checked. Okay, so you see here Subway, and then when I click on Starbucks, the Subway goes away. When I click on, so only one can be checked. None can be checked. And your code has to be able to test for that too. So let's say the guy comes in, or let's say you write your code, and when you write your code, you don't have it set to a default. Let's see, where is it? You don't have it set to okay, so it's like this, and your code doesn't set a default, so you just click submit, and then what? Well, that's interesting. That does that. But once you click on something, you cannot unclick. I don't think. No, you can't unclick. Excuse me. All right, anyway, and then there's drop-down menus. There's drop-down menus like this, and again, only one can be selected. So a drop-down menu is like a radio button. But if you put the keyword multiple in the select, then you can select more than one. You can select multiple, and then it's like checkboxes. So if you only want them to be able to pick one thing, you use either a set of radio buttons or you use a select that does not have the multiple attribute. Or if you want them to be able to select more than one, then you use a select multiple attributes or use checkboxes. You can use checkboxes with the same name. And you have to know how that data comes in. If you have multiple checkboxes with the same name or a select that's got the multiple attribute, how it comes in to the to a to the API program, whether it's written in PHP or Python or any other language, is language dependent. So you have to care about that. It's a lot easier to write code if you can only select one. All right, so that's list by. See, it says multiple there, and it calls them something different. Buttons are like submit buttons. They're just, it's like an on or off thing. All right, so how far did I get? I got to section 3. Okay, well, I may end up doing 2 class periods next. This is 387P. Yeah, I don't want to get too far beyond. So I may be doing 2 class periods next week. Of course, they're optional, but it may give people a chance. It should give everybody a chance to attend if you'd like. Are there any? This class ends at 11:30. Is that right? Yes. Okay, right. I got another class now. All right. Are there any questions? Okay, well, thank you. A lot of familiar names there, and I will see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.